All right, good morning, everyone. I'm Jan Erickson from Stepping Aside, and welcome to Somewhat Daily Tarot and Rune for the 24th day of January, 2019. So let me get my rune cheat sheet up a little bit here so I can see what the numbers are of the runes. I've just given in. I'm not. If I remember, I remember. If I don't, I look at my little list. So today is a 6 numerology, so higher self-influencing today, harmony, being able to extend yourself to other people. It's also another theme of the 6. Being able to offer what you have. You'll see like the 6 of Cups, I think you'll see it shows two young people, two children, one offering a cup filled with flowers to the other. So it's about abundance and offering abundance and shared abundance. That seems to be, I read a thing, I think it was Illinois was mentioned that they were going to move 100 million from their state budget as a guarantor for loans for federal workers to make ends meet during all of this nightmare. So hopefully you're going to see other states do the same. That's an interesting way to, it's an interesting way to help. I've not seen anybody else do that. Maybe others are, I don't know. But I thought that was just really fascinating that they took, they just earmarked a certain amount of money. I think it was 100 million for loans for federal workers during the shutdown. It's going to get paid back. So to do that, it's a win-win. It's temporary, hopefully. I have a feeling that if it's not, that eventually the Republicans are going to step up and do something. But currently, they're not. They're hanging with their guy. So I don't know. Well, I have to go, and my husband needs shoes. And so he said, let's go, and we need to also order our bees. We're beekeepers, and each year, we've actually only had 1 year where our bees survived the winter. And this last year, now they were gone probably, I think by October they were already gone. I think what happened was the queen died. I suspect when you order packages, you're not always getting a new queen, or something could have just happened to her. But she was clearly, when we installed the package last year into the Warre hive, she was clearly alive and doing what she was doing, and she did her mating flight, and she came back, and lots of activity in the hive all summer long. So clearly it all worked. And because sometimes they don't make it back. And if you don't have a queen and they can't draw a queen cell out quickly enough and get one going, because it's going to take a month, to do that once they figure out they don't have a queen. So assuming they last, they got to have a queen to keep, keep populating the hive. So if you can't go get one and buy one and put her in, and hopefully they accept her, which typically they do. But then you can just lose your hive that way. There weren't any dead bees, so it wasn't, varroa or anything else. So we also have a neighbor that sprays, and that isn't good. So it could be that. But anyway, we have to go and order our packages for the season, and I think last year we did 1. I think we might do 2 this year. And who knows, maybe we'll get lucky, because this would have been a great year for it, because the winter has been fairly mild. And so the 1 year where we had 3 months of snow, everyone's bees died. I mean, there were in the valley, I guess a school in Eugene, they had, I don't know, 7 or 8 hives, and they all died. Not a single one made it. So families were getting together and pooling money to buy more bees for the school, so that the kids could, continue to learn about them. And they were hoping for donations and all of that, So I guess they got that all going, and so I think that's really cool that some schools are actually including that in their curriculum, learning about bees and what they are, because with the issues that they have, don't know if it's the chemtrails that are bothering him. I know the chemtrails bother my hair, so I would venture to guess they probably bother the bees as well. Lots of issues with bees these days. So we just plan to lose them anymore, and to have to replace them in the spring. And so that's what we'll do today. We'll go to the feed store, and my husband will look for some boots and or some shoes, and we'll order our bees. And then maybe we'll do another video of when we install them. I'll have my husband film me when I install the bee packages in the hives. I think I probably will get 2 instead of just 1. Put 1 in the Warre hive, and then we have a long hive. It's basically a Langstroth hive, only it's horizontal, and but it accepts the Langstroth frames, so it's a really nice hive. We actually have 3 of them, and I like that. I don't like having to lift a box off where you can stack them. I don't like having to do that. They're heavy, especially if they've got honey in there, so it gets pretty heavy. So anyhow, well, let's count 13 and see what we have for today. Well, we're going to draw another one because we got a court card, but we have the Page of Cups, so we're back to emotions again today. We see the water behind him. Kind of looks like a biorhythm chart, doesn't it? The sine waves in a biorhythm chart. We've talked a little bit about those. But you can see he's holding his chalice out. There's a fish in it for Pisces. But a page is a young person. Sometimes they're not. They're a page. They're also a princess in some decks, and some of the other decks. In Crowley's Thoth deck, it's a Princess of Cups. But basically, the court cards are interesting. They deal either with the individual on the card, so in this case, a young person, or they deal with the qualities they're in. And anytime I draw one in a reading, I always draw another card because we need something for the page to interact with. But here, we're talking about a student, undeveloped potential, like the Fool. In a way, it's like the other end of, you begin with the Fool, and now we're at the Princess or the Page. Messages, intuition flows freely because it's a water element. It could mean if it comes up in a reading, depending on what the other cards are around it, it could mean the birth of a child, maybe. It could indicate an empathic individual, someone who's emotional and artistic. But oftentimes, with pages, we're looking at messages or something that's new, something that's potential of some kind that's undeveloped. So maybe the potential for emotional balance that's yet undeveloped, as difficult as life is these days. So maybe we have something new that's coming. I thought it was really interesting. It really speaks to the power of women. If women assert themselves, then we're thought badly of. It doesn't really matter how we do it. You're always going to have, people who say crappy things, if a woman asserts herself. Yesterday, we saw something really fascinating, didn't we? We saw a grandmother tell an overgrown toddler no. There's a new direction. There's a new message. And it's no. It's we're going to live in truth. We're going to live in reason. We're going to live in what works. And we're not going to play games. So open the government and you can come to my house. Don't open the government. You can't come to my house. Don't hold people hostage. It's just a simple concept. And what she's doing is she's establishing boundaries with somebody that doesn't seem to live with any. And that's just not realistic, particularly if you're the president of a country. You can't do things that harm people in such a major way. You just can't. And yet he does. So let's draw another card. Let me shuffle just one more time here. And I want to make sure I don't draw something that I've been drawing. Of course, you never can tell, can you? Because if you shuffle, you just don't know. But I hate that way. I'll do a reading on one day, and the next day I'll get like almost the same cards. Like, what is going on? Sometimes I have to just simply change decks when that happens, because it's like, okay, what am I doing to influence this? So, anyhow, let's get the page something to interact with. Well, the Three of Swords. Never really a good card in any deck. You know, as much as emotions can be our downfall, so can our mouth. So can our mind. You know, what comes out of our mouth, you know. This is about a drama triangle, or jealousy, or heartbreak. You can see the clouds in the background. You've got rain. And you've got three swords piercing a heart. I tend to look at it as a drama triangle, but you know, it can mean jealousy, it can mean betrayal, slander, maybe gossip going on behind the scenes. Because if you look really closely, the center sword really is out in front of the others. The other two seem to cross behind that one, don't they? So in that regard, you could think in terms of again, betrayal and gossip and slander. Three is a card of, three is numerologically, of course, a catalytic number, triplicity, mind, body, spirit, in this case, not really in alignment. Maybe the other two, maybe you've got two people in the background talking about you, people that you thought maybe were friends, maybe they're not, or maybe they were never friends. While the other person is, you know, maybe you're standing there in the center just trying to figure it all out, trying to figure out what's the drama behind you, what's going on behind the scenes. And even though that this is about intellect being swords and the air element, you know, we're talking mind and intellect, communication. Even though that's about that, clearly something's going on. And you either know about it or you feel like it's happening. You know, maybe you're not too clear yet on what it is. The rain coming down with the clouds, that also indicates a lack of clarity maybe as to what the whole truth of this situation is. But if we look in terms of the page as a message, either the message is hey, this is happening, and in case you didn't know, or you know, maybe what you've been feeling is there's a drama thing going on in your life, or odds are you're aware of it, you know, but sometimes we're not always certain of the facts behind it, you know. Perhaps people are saying things about you that aren't true, and people have an idea about you that isn't correct. Maybe they're trying to sabotage something. Maybe you have some success and you're experiencing maybe some sabotage in your life. But either way, you know, if you're the one doing it, stop. And if you're not, if it's happening in your life, you know, um, go inward and really focus and know what you know about it. Don't doubt yourself. If you're really clear that something is happening and you know who the players are, you have to decide, do I, in a sense here, what the center sword is doing is standing in its own power while the nonsense is going on behind it. So you can continue to do that, or maybe you can decide to, give your own message about it. But let me check just to make sure on the 3 that there's not something else that it might have to do with. I tend to write down as much as I can about these cards, because inevitably some tarot reader will come up with this just the most amazing interpretation that you just never thought of, before. And so I always try, whenever I'm reading different books on tarot, I try to jot down different ideas that these folks have, because it's like, wow, that's just amazing. And so I always like to double check before I move on here to make sure that there's not something I'm forgetting. Yeah, accept reality, you know? Yeah, I also put in here about staying aligned, because again, you see that center sword. It's just trying to, exist here while all this nonsense is going on behind them. Uh, Balance of emotions and intellect, heart and mind, a synthesis of some sort, an understanding of some sort, the creative result of 2 principles. That was interesting. But, how creative is this? You don't want that. You don't want that kind of creativity in your life, do you? You don't need that. Let's go on and let's look at the rune and see what it has to say. So maybe we're just getting a little more information then about this drama triangle we're involved in, or whatever, betrayals going on behind the scenes that we're just trying to maybe figure out. So maybe we're going to get a little more information about that today, if that's happening in your personal life. Or we could view the Page of Cups as Nancy and, the 3 as the guy in the Oval Office. So I don't know. Anyhow, Sewillow, the 16th rune of the Elder Futhark, it's a 7 numerology. So again, you're looking at the balance between spirit and form. It's the rune of will. It's about clarity. And you can see the as above, so below nature of it with the upper part of Sewillow, and then you have the line which denotes, I say, the horizontal line of form, and then down into form. So it's almost like the horizontal plane, the material plane. We're aligning spirit with form there. And just as the lightning bolt will zigzag downward, that's where we come from. We come from spirit. So let that flow from spirit inform the rest of the process. And you see the same running theme, don't you, throughout a lot of these runes. I'll use yesterday, where we're watching, the three legs coming down of air, fire, and water down into form. So you see all of the elements of spirit coming down into manifestation. Same is true with Sewillow. And here you see the sense of balance between spirit and form, or spirit and ego. Because the 7 is really, kind of it's the number for Libra, it's the scales, it's all of that. I guess why I'm a Libra, so I guess that's why I'm so drawn to 7s and scales and things like that. But let me look here really quick. Let's see, there's 2 here's Sewillow. Yeah, fire element, what guides you. It's about healing and self-confidence, strengthens the magical will of the witch. Rune of higher self, guidance and journeying, strengthens other workings, illumination, the link, and again, the link between light and dark. Another one you see that with is I was, whereas it's like this. So you see that same type of link between between opposites, the link between higher self and ego. But there was another one here that I wrote down that I wanted to find, and here it is here. It allows female energy from the sun into the personal sphere. Now, what we typically think of with the sun, we think of that as masculine energy, and then we think of, or projective energy, and then we think of the earth as the receptive Mother Earth presence. But clearly, from a runic standpoint, they're seeing the sun as more than just the male aspect. They're seeing it in its complete aspect of of masculine, feminine, as the creator embodied. It is sort of representing the creator itself, which is everything all at once, so it embodies all that. There's no duality within the creator. But basically, that's what they're saying here. It's a blending of the solar and earth energies, and masculine and feminine presence, duality. Blending on the horizontal plane, you see there. So there's a lot of symbolism, a lot of meaning to this. I guess what I'm trying to think about here, though, in terms of Suolo and this card here, sometimes you've just got to let the crap play out behind you, and you just stand in your own power and you ignore it and you just move on. One of the things that you can glean from Nancy's response to Speaker Pelosi's response to Donald yesterday is that she's going to ignore the drama behind her, and she's going to stand in her own power, and she's just going to say, look, just like you would to a child, here are the boundaries. Here are what your options are. You can calm down and behave, and we can continue our shopping, or we can leave right now and we can go to the car and we can go on home. But if we do that, then you're not going to get, whatever it was that you wanted here at the store. But in order to stay here, you have to calm down. If you can't do that, that's fine. That's fine. We can leave. It's fine. That's all she's doing. And he doesn't know what to do about it. Do you notice that the only thing he can think to do is call her Nancy? Now, I call her Nancy because I think she's just the most awesome woman, and it's a sister thing, right? But in truth, she's Speaker Pelosi. And he needs to refer to her that way when he's referring to her in public. But instead, we're on a first name basis. She doesn't refer to him as Donald, though, I'll guarantee you that. So it shows you right away, she's going to do this in a way that is very motherly, is very matter of fact. I mean, it would be what a first grade teacher would do or a kindergarten teacher would do, isn't it? Who's used to dealing with a bunch of kids that are, all kinds, right? You're going to have some that are quiet. You're going to have some that are obedient. You're going to have some that are just really there to have a good time and really focused on the teacher. Doesn't really care what the teacher wants. Doesn't understand. They're just there to have a tremendously great time in school that day, right? Well, she's not going to allow that. And sometimes if we're dealing with a bunch of drama in our lives, sometimes all you can do is just get quiet, establish your boundaries, and stay within them. And let the drama do what it wants to do. And then when it finds it's not getting any attention, it stops. So imagine, last night when we discover that a letter has been sent saying, and a tweet has been issued saying, I'll wait until the shutdown's over and then we will have the State of the Union. War's over. Not a shot fired, which is how it ought to be. I love Parliament in Britain, though. Isn't that amazing to see films of that, to see video of what happens in their chamber? They all go insane. And I mean, the energy is just amazing. And I don't know how they get things done, but apparently they do. And this is all okay. They insult one another right and left. And it's just, I don't know. I get the feeling that they're all friends afterwards. I don't know how they do that, but that doesn't really work in our country. There's too many of us, I think. Anyway, so what we need is someone who's calm and steady and says, look, this is how we're going to move forward, because there really is no other way. And I'm not going to reinforce or reward, squirrely behavior or harmful behavior or inappropriate behavior. You do that, every mom knows, every teacher knows you've lost the battle and you will lose the war if you don't establish it right away who's boss. In our household, our kids knew that we were the boss. We didn't suffer like some people in my generation got confused and thought they should be their kids' friends. No, you're the parent. You're the parent. That's what you signed up for. Be the parent. They have their friends. You're the parent. Well, clearly Speaker Pelosi understands that concept and is basically just saying, look, here's what we're going to do, and we're going to get it all done, but we're going to do it in a way that is intelligent and respectful and not giving in to someone who wants to hold people hostage and ruin their lives in the process just so he gets what he wants. That's what you see happening in the background here. And I would suggest to you that if this is happening in your life, take a look. I'm sure there's lots of video of it. Give a listen to how she handles this person and see if you can't find a way to emulate that in your own life if you're experiencing something like this. Sometimes you just got to let the chaos play out and just go on about your business. And eventually they catch up. They do. It finds no purchase. And eventually it's like, oh, well, okay, all the fun is happening over here. Everyone's getting busy over here and all this attention's going on. Maybe I need to go get involved with that and actually help the effort instead of trying to, destroy the effort. I mean, it's amazing how that happens. All you have to do is watch a mom who knows how to ignore her kid till he behaves. It's a different form of parenting. It's a different type of behavior modification. It's not, in a sense, you're waiting for the good behavior to emerge. And believe it or not, it does. And I think last night, his willingness to just say, okay, sure, I'll do that. No name calling, no nothing, just okay. The fun is just beginning. So again, if that's what you're experiencing in your life, you have a choice. You can confront the people, or you can just stand in your own power and refuse to give it any attention and see what happens that way. You might be surprised. Sometimes this stuff is just so doggone offensive, that you can't stand not to say something, but sometimes not saying something is the way to go, and letting it play out. Because at the end of the day, if you do that, then if you're not putting your own self into the mix, then they own it all, don't they? So if someone's doing something, or a couple of people are doing something that isn't right, you do have that as an option, to let them own the whole thing. And you just step aside from it. Kind of like the name of my blog, Stepping Aside. Just step aside from the chaos and watch. Go on about your life. They'll figure it out, or they won't. And if they don't, you don't need it, right? So. But still, if you're experiencing it, I'm sorry. It's an awful thing. I know what it's like, when you're an assertive woman, when you're, also if you're a witch. for some reason, people, I don't know, they're either comfortable around someone who they know is a witch, or I don't know. I guess they think they believe all this, the drama in the movies, and all, I don't know. But when you're different and you see life differently, and uh, being an empath, you're all about the truth, and you don't like game playing, and witches, they don't like that either. So I gotta have a double dose of it. So sometimes you come across as this, person not to be messed with. So then you get people who will, and that's always fun. But at the end of the day, it's all about perception. And if we can all just agree not to play games with one another, life would be a whole lot better. We could get a whole lot more done. We'd have a lot more, we could be friends with one another. I mean, amazing, to think about that, actually be friends with people instead of being at odds with them. But I think it's when, the perceptions get going, and that those drama triangles start to happen. We had a situation happen a few years back with someone that was basically doing some things that we could have sued him for, frankly. And we chose not to, though, because technically he was a friend. But we had these folks who were part of it, not directly, but involved, that were trying to convince us to give this guy what he wants. It's like, no, we don't want to. We don't have to. And so, we stood our ground. And what my husband finally said to them is, look, this behavior is illegal. It's destructive to our friendship. It's any number of things, right? There was nothing okay about what he was doing. Ultimately, he apologized and everything. But during that time, what my husband just said is like, look, I can't reinforce, problem behavior. This is his problem, not mine. And I won't reinforce, like if I give him what he wants, then I reinforce this bad behavior. And so it'll only open the door for more of it later on. Okay. And they didn't know what to say. So I thought about that when I saw what happened ultimately last night, that he gave in and said, okay, I'll wait. I'll wait before giving the State of the Union. I want to do it at the House of Representatives. I want to do it in that chamber, so we'll do it then. So fine. I don't know. Maybe we're both black belts, Jerry and I, and so it's probably that we just have maybe a little different take on things as well. But for me, it's you just don't reward bad behavior. Okay, you just don't. If you do, you're going to be dealing with that person for the rest of your life. I mean, parents know it. If they don't deal with a child's behavior, pretty soon they get the idea they can do it all the time. And then you play hell trying to get them under control, don't you? So you get it established right away that either I don't care what you're doing, just go away from me. I don't even care, just goodbye. See, they don't get what they want that way either, do they? Or you just sit there and you wait and you say, here are the boundaries. This is all I'm going to do. And you wait. I'm sort of in that right now. That's sort of happening in my life right now, where I'm waiting. This is kind of happening. Things behind the scenes. And I'm just waiting because I don't want to get in the middle of it. I don't. I know what the truth is. People want to play games. They can do that. But I'm not going to get in the middle of it. I don't want to. It's too disconcerting for me. I like to live in truth. I like for everybody to be on the same page. And when that can't happen, I just step away. So anyhow, and hopefully things resolve themselves and then we can all come back together. Otherwise, I stay away. So anyhow, that's my weird way of dealing with my problems. Anyhow, I'm just not really interested in getting in the middle of other people's delusions. There's no way to deal with it. It was like when the OJ trial was happening. years ago. My mother was still alive, and we would have daily phone conversations about, because she'd watch it all day long, I'd watch it all day long on TV. And you try to make sense out of insanity, and you can't. It's like, well, you try to find some logic, and this and that. It's like you can't find logic in any of it. And I don't know. I just finally decided at that point that was really kind of the point of it. And that if you can't make sense of it, then why stay in the middle of it? Just step away from it. And eventually, if you need to get back into it and it's going to start resolving itself, then you can do that. But why stay in the middle of the drama? It just doesn't make any sense to me. So anyhow, that's what I learned from my mother and watching the OJ trial. Anyhow, so I'm going to do the lunar transits today. That'll go up on the blog sometime this afternoon. But I do have to go to the store, like I said, and get the bees ordered and get some shoes for my husband. So anyhow, we're going to do that in a little bit. And so I guess then today's Thursday, so I won't see you again until Monday. Thanks so much for coming by. If it's your first time, welcome. Click subscribe. I'd love you to do that. If you've been here before, thanks for coming back. I do appreciate it. Again, if you're going to work some magic today, this is Thursday. This is Jupiter. We're in a decrease on the moon, though. The moon is waning right now, so you're going to have to deal with those energies and try to craft your spell around that, because with the expansive energy of Jupiter, you may be able to then increase the waning effect maybe of a spell. So in a banishing or a binding or something like that, or trying to clear out negativity or anything like that. Try to make use of the expansive aspect of Jupiter to increase the effect of the spell, maybe. So I don't know. In any event, be good to yourself. Be good to one another. We'll see you next week. Have a wonderful weekend, and blessed be.